Hello again, welcome back to Mastering the Young Band. I want to talk about beginning instrument placements or tryouts. So these are for my school, sixth grade is where we do beginner or beginning band. So this for me, this is primarily fifth graders going into sixth grade, those first year players. Now, my fundamental belief is that each kid has a few instruments that they are well suited for physically. Because of teeth, because of jaw, because of lip shape. There's all kinds of reasons why students can thrive on certain instruments and maybe why they're gonna struggle on certain instruments. For me, because of the shape of my jaw and the shape especially of my canine teeth, I really struggle to play the trumpet. I can play the horn okay, but those instruments are just a big struggle for me. However, baritone, trombone, tuba, I can play really, really well because of the bigger mouthpiece, and it just really complements my physical characteristics well. I can also play the flute pretty well, as well as the clarinet and saxophone, but the trumpet, that is the instrument that I just struggle on. If I had had a middle school experience and I wanted to play trumpet and the band director just let me, I probably would have hated it, I would have struggled, and who knows what would have happened. Hopefully I would have had a director that would have recognized it and switched me to another instrument, but there's a chance I would have quit band. So I fundamentally believe that each kid needs to try instruments to see which ones they're the best suited for physically. So the reflection of that is my instrument tryout process. What I do is once I find out what kids have signed up for band, I send them a welcome to band email with information on band, as well as information on the different instruments. Then what they do is they fill out a Sign Up Genius online and they sign up for a time slot to come try out the instruments. Now what I do for my program is I do it on a Friday evening. Why a Friday? I used to do this event on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday, but because of especially sports practices and karate and different things that kids did, I was finding that families weren't signing up because they had conflicts. Even though my signups ran from 3:45 to 6:30 at night, I still had families that wouldn't show up due to activities. A Friday though, what I found is that for families, it works really well. There's very few activities scheduled on Friday. For me to know that I'm gonna need to stay late for the instrument tryouts and then the next day is the weekend is a really nice thing rather than having to come back to school. And I have student volunteers that help me with my instrument tryouts. So it's not a school night for them where they're staying late. They can, stay and help me. I get more kids signing up that way. So the format of my night is each kid signs up for a time and they actually are a part of a 10-kid rotation and they will try out the flute, the clarinet, trumpet, horn, trombone, and tuba. So they try out those 6 wind instruments. My district does not start kids on double reeds, saxophone, and I have chosen to not start kids on baritone euphonium. I switch a few trombones out later since it's a school-owned instrument. So they sign up for a time, and what they do is they have a 10-person rotation, they check in with their parents, and then they go to a circle, and I usually have some of my strong student leaders meet them, get to know them, and ask them about themselves, and they kind of get the group going and just get the kids talking because you get a mixture. You get kids that are super excited for this night, and you get kids that are really nervous as well. So they circle up the kids, and then every quarter hour they walk them to their rotation so that they can try out the instruments. The parents, we tell them they're welcome to stay in our cafeteria if they like. We just open it up and they can sit there, they can tap into the Wi-Fi at that time and just get stuff done. Or we tell them that they can come back an hour and a half later for their child's checkout. And I'll get to the checkout process in a little bit. So once the parent has decided if they're going to the cafeteria or leave and then coming back, the kids go to their first rotation. I've tried a couple of different ways of doing the rotations. Right now what I do is I actually have the students start on the the trombone. So they start on the trombone first, and the reason why I do the trombone is that since it's a little bit of a bigger mouthpiece, we can teach the kids how to comfortably vibrate on their instrument. So in each room, I got ahead of myself a little bit. In each room, there is an instructor that I pay to be there for the night. I don't pay them very much. I wish I could pay them more. Right now it's $50. Some years I have a music store pay for that. Some year I pay for that out of my just building budget or through fundraising. So in the room, the kids sit down. They don't have instruments sitting by them. They do have a mouthpiece under their chair. But what happens is the professional musician plays for them. They razzle and dazzle them and just show them, here's what this instrument sounds like. Very few kids have heard live a trombone or a tuba player playing that close to them. So for them to get to hear and see all these instruments, it really opens up their eyes to what's out there. Most middle schoolers, young band students, what they do is they pick their instrument based on what their parents played, what their siblings played, or what their friends played. That's usually how they pick an instrument rather than one that's a best fit for them. So this system that I use, it really breaks them out of that so they can see all the possibilities, first of all, and then which one they're the best suited for. So anyway, the professional musician plays for them, and then they teach them how to form a basic embouchure without anything in their hands. So on flute, they might go lick, dim. For trumpet, trombone, they might go lick, toe, and they just show them basic things to look for. Flute, we usually start with a finger embouchure and where they slowly open. And if you haven't seen some of my beginner series videos on how to form those embouchures, that's basically what my instructors use. So they teach the kids the basics of the embouchure, and then they give them mouthpieces. Now, one of the good things that came out of the COVID pandemic are these instrument tryout kits. My district actually bought these for us. They're made by Jupiter Company. That's the ones that we use. I think there's others out there. And what's really nice about these kits is they're easy to sanitize because they're made out of plastic. If you're not familiar with these kits, they come with a little flute head joint. They come with a clarinet mouthpiece with a plastic reed and cap. And then they also come with a brass mouthpiece, one that's more like a trumpet horn cup, and then one that's more like a trombone. And so what happens is the kids each get one of these. I actually have 2 sets in each room. And then what the kids do is they actually practice doing the different sounds that the instructor gave them. The kids bring with them a scorecard. And on that scorecard, it has all the instruments. And by the way, I'll post this scorecard on my website so you can have a copy and make it your own. They carry it with them. And what happens is this instructor goes to each kid, watches them form their embouchure. And while they're doing that, they're looking at their teeth, they're looking at their lip shape, they're looking at everything. They listen to them play. And what they're looking for is embouchure potential. That's what we call it on the form. We call it embouchure potential. You're going to have kids that form a perfect embouchure right away and get amazing sounds. You're going to have kids that puff their cheeks and do weird things. What we're looking for is, can this student play this instrument? And then the judges mark, or not the judges, the clinicians mark it on the sheet. So they go to each kid. Again, it's a 15-minute time slot, and we found that rotations no larger than 10 give our instructors enough time to see each kid. We do a numbering system, 1 to 5. A 5 is absolutely, yes, this student should be on this instrument. We even have secret codes too, where sometimes they'll double circle it or they'll put an exclamation point. And that's my way of saying this kid needs to be on this instrument. Then a 3 range is like they did okay, they have some concerns. It's probably not the best fit instrument for them, but it's a maybe. And then a 1 is there are physical limitations, you should not be playing this instrument. So they go through all the rotations. They meet up with their parents after an hour and a half because there's 6 rotations of 15 minutes. And what they do is they go to their parents, and I have given parents instructions on what the numbers mean. They get a little handout when they go to the check-in at our tryout nights, and it just has instructions and information on band for them to read. And then what they do is they form a line and they check out with me. The student and the parent come up. I say hi to them and I go, okay, what are your top 2 instrument choices? And you'll see this on the scorecard. I think it's really important for kids to know that they're not going to be able to just lock into one instrument. So just having them pick 2 kind of releases them from thinking that, I gotta have this instrument. It really just kind of relaxes most kids. So I go, all right, great. Well, let's take a look here. And so they'll tell me, let's say they pick flute and trombone. I look at their scorecard and I go, okay, boy, flute, you got a 5. That's a yes for you. And then I look and go, you know what? Trombone, you got a 3. And the instructor even wrote a note here that you have what's called an underbite. And we'll talk about what an underbite is and that kind of thing. Oh, and by the way, on the sheet, I'd still write flute and trombone down. And then I ask them, okay, if you could pick right now, what would your top choice be? And they'll tell me, and I put a little check by that. And then also on the scorecard, I have them circle how interested they would be in playing their second choice instrument. So let's say a kid got 5s on 3 different instruments and they pick 2 as their top. And it's things like, I would absolutely play my second choice instrument. I would play my second choice instrument to help out the band. I might play in second choice instrument, and so on. This gives me an idea as I'm calculating all my numbers where, if I need to shift some students from clarinet to trumpet, if I need to move some tubas to trombone, and etc. So they check out with me. I write a check next to their top choice instrument. I know their second choice. And then I just tell them, hey, thank you so much for coming in. You're going to get an email from me in the next few weeks with your instrument selection. If you're interested in percussion, so percussion is a very popular instrument, and that's one of the few ones that I audition along with tuba, and I'll come back to that. Students have to then go to the percussion room by option. They don't have to go to the percussion room. They go and wait in line for percussion, and then they do a tryout with a paid percussion teacher. So what this does is that really makes them decide what's my wind instrument if I don't get selected for percussion, and it really limits the number of kids that try out for percussion. I used to do percussion in my rotations, and I just found it was too many kids that were trying to get on percussion, and we needed some more one-on-one time. Just having this extra rotation takes away some of the kids that really aren't interested, and it cuts the numbers down. And so after the entire placement night is over, I go through all of the forms and I just kind of see where my instrumentation sits. And if I have a lot of instrument numbers in one area and not as many in another, I will, I'll contact families, or I'll look at what numbers they put down on their sheet as to if they're willing to play it. And then I can normally shift my numbers around enough to get a pretty darn good instrumentation. You heard me mention tuba does have an audition process. I used to let more kids on tuba, but because of the limited number of school-owned instruments that I have for tuba, and unfortunately tuba was just attracting some kids that were very unorganized, not practicing, that kind of thing, I now audition tubas. So if students have tuba as a top choice with me at the instrument tryouts, I give them a handout with more information on the tuba. I even have pictures of some former students that I have that are like, SAT scores of like 1,500. They're like astronomical or aeronautic engineers, just showing them these are the kind of kids I want tuba. I want absolutely great kids on tuba. And then what they do is they have to email me and set up an appointment. They come in and they retry out the tuba so I can hear them play on it. And then they also have to do a written test of the first 5 notes of the tuba to show me they're willing to learn and study and work hard to be on the tuba. And then after that, I usually cut it down to 3, 4, or 5 beginner tubas. And what's neat about this process is it really sorts it down to just really great kids. And my track record since I started doing this is most of my tubas stay into high school band, and they're even becoming all-state players, honors band tuba players. So it's a really nice part of my tuba process. So again, on my website, I will put the scorecard on there. I'll put some of that tuba additional information just so you can kind of see this process. But my instrument tryouts really help to get me a well-rounded instrumentation for my band. It lets kids have fun getting to play a lot of different mouthpieces and instruments. I didn't say it on the video, but we don't have kids play on the full instruments. There's just not enough time for it, and to bring all those instruments in and have kids drop them and damage them, it was just taking too much time out of the process when what we're most concerned with is their embouchure. One quick note on tuba that I forgot to, I did buy, we do have plastic tuba mouthpieces that can be sanitized. I also have just some metal ones that we spray with the Sanispray as well. That one, the tuba instructor does put the mouthpiece in and holds the tuba for them and lets them play on the tuba, or sometimes just even has them hold in their lap and they just kind of blow down into the mouthpiece while it's on their lap. Sometimes an instructor will really want to hear a kid on a full instrument, and they might pop a mouthpiece, especially brass, into an instrument and just hold it for the kid to see what they're capable of. But for the most part, we just do the mouthpieces and see the embouchure potential. So again, through this process, it's really helped my instrumentation. Every year I have really great instrumentation in my band program, and it also helps kids to not pick instruments that they're not successful with. I typically start lately about 125 kids in beginning band, and I would say less than 5 are mismatched to their instruments. Even with this process, you do sometimes get some mismatches and just It'll just happen. And so to only have 5 out of about 125 is pretty good. So anyway, I hope you found that useful. Check my website, mikeperezband.com, for that scorecard on instrument tryouts. Highly recommend this process. I've been using this process the entire 18 years that I've been at my middle school, and boy, does it have great results for my program. Thanks a lot.